Now let us continue with our select query. That kind of operation that we just discussed is in all three DML operations, whether it is update, insert or delete. The expected return value is always number of rows affected only. Okay, and so and also the method that we are using is execute update, which will work for all the three of them. We yesterday read the documentation also that execute update works with update, delete and insert methods, which are DML operations. Okay, DML commands. Okay, now we are learning about select query, and select query is not a DML command. Data retrieval, we are retrieving the data, we are getting the data. Okay, and so select query does not give integer as a return value. It does not give the number of rows affected, but it gives the whole table. Whatever number of rows that are found for that particular select query, that is what it returns. Okay, so when we are running a select query, let us take the select query. Let us say our select query is, then if we are writing this, the expected result is, it will give us 3 column data. Okay, the first one is department number, and then it will give location, and then it will give multiple rows for that particular table. Okay, in our case we have 4 departments, and so we will be getting 4 rows of data. Okay, and this is the expected result from database. Okay, so if that is the case, if we write our JDBC code, what will happen? It will be same process. We have our JDBC API and we have our implementation of that JDBC API by MySQL. We have our database and our Java program. We will be sending a request. That request will be received by database, and then that request will be returned back by database. The response will be returned back by database. But what type of response it will return? It will return a table response. It will give this response. Okay, it will give the table as a response. When it is giving table as a response, then that what will happen to that table? This table is not a single value, right? Table is not a single value. Why? Because it is having multiple rows in it. Okay, it is also having the information of column names, the values per column and everything, that whole thing. Okay, when it is returning this whole thing, then what we are getting that returned as from the database. We are getting a table which will be returned back by our implementation, MySQL implementation, as an object. It will be returned as an object, okay, which will internally contain the table. But that table is converted into an object. Why? Because JDBC, right? JDBC means Java connectivity. Okay, it is a Java with database connectivity, and Java only understands objects. Java cannot understand tables, and so our MySQL implementation is changing that into a object. Why? Because the method that we are executing here, it is called as execute query. Okay, the method is execute query. This execute query is expecting a object as the return value. Okay, and so this implementation of JDBC API for this execute query method will return this table as an object, and then that object is returned back to the method. The method will receive an object of table, and that object is called as result set object. And what is result set? Result set is the return type of execute query method. Result set is the return type of execute query method, and the JDBC API implementation of MySQL is also creating a result set object and returning that so that Java can receive it. Why is it called as result set? First of all, it is a result coming from the database. Set means unique rows values. Okay, unique set of rows coming from the database.